Okay? Just ignore me, I'm recording.
All good.
All right, so let's recap what we learned today. Today we talked about end behavior. So it's kind of like what happens when we let x go to infinity, what's y doing? Or if x goes to negative infinity, what's y doing? So it's called end behavior. And so we're either going to infinity for the x value or going to negative. So this is how we write it, because you can't really get to infinity. We say it approaches infinity. So this little symbol with the arrow is saying x is approaching infinity. You cannot get to infinity. It's impossible. It's like forever. And this is like x going to negative infinity. So what's going on with y? So here's our question. In this example, let's describe end behavior. So as x, watch the fingers, as x approaches infinity, the y value is going up to positive infinity. So we'll say as x approaches infinity, y or f of x also approaches infinity. But there's two parts in behavior. You need both. We also need x to go to negative infinity. So as x is going to negative infinity, y is going to positive infinity in a parabola. So as x approaches negative infinity, then f of x or y is approaching infinity. Okay? Now, on an x cubed, it's a little bit different. To describe end behavior of an x cubed, it looks like this. So, how do we describe end behavior of x cubed? Well, as x approaches infinity, y is approaching also infinity. As x approaches negative infinity, y is going down, down, down to negative infinity. So we describe it this way. That's my answer on describing end behavior, okay? We also looked at it in our book. And in our book, we showed a change of orientation. So in the book, here it is again. End behavior as x approaches infinity, y or f of x approaches infinity. As x approaches negative infinity, y or f of x approaches negative infinity, okay? Now, if you change the orientation, made it get a negative x, it just takes this graph and draws it this way. So the orientation changes. X approaches infinity, then we can't see that. Then, so we change our orientation. We get a negative x, it's this graph. So as x approaches infinity, y approaches negative infinity. There it is. And as x approaches negative infinity, this time y approaches positive infinity. So the orientation changes, all right? Depending on if you make it a negative x squared, a negative x cubed, it changes the behavior, the end behavior, okay? And the same is true if you make the x's negative, but you can change the end behavior. So our homework was to fill out the chart and draw graphs for these. And that's what we did. Okay, so I will see you tomorrow. That's all I have.